Welcome to the Mentores, and I know I've been busy and I haven't been uploading videos of this in quite a while, and I'm sorry for that. I got a new job, I've been through a lot of things, and being honest, I was worried about my future and things like that, college and all of that stuff. I've been through a lot in my mind, and I'm trying to improve myself also, trying to exercise more, trying to be more conscious of my own self, and having a strong inner strength in a way. I'm chatting with my demons and they are pretty cool sometimes, so I'm dealing with that too. It's a lot of stuff, so I don't want to bother people with that. And well, I just wanted to do this so I could upload it finally because I had the chapter done a long time earlier, but I could not find the time myself to do this and you know actually narrate it as it should be. And of course, this is also something I investigated to give it a little more flavor in the mix. And being honest, this kind of work, which is most free for me, it's more therapeutic sometimes. I do it in a way that I want it to be truthful to the story and the characters, and I try to be truthful to myself. I don't want to do this in a sloppy way by any chance. I want each chapter to be the best I can do, and I hope I did that this time. I'm still improving and I try to do my best, so hope that's okay. Anyhow, since we're already here, let's settle up and go straight to chapter 5 of That One Last Ride. Shall we? Okay, let's go. That One Last Ride, chapter 5. The Eyes Which Only Saw Gold. Recapitulating from the sorrow that invaded me from the last time we spoke, I was at the roof of a building in France. At the church where I slayed my first demon was burning and collapsing, while at the light of this, I was beside the bike that started all of this, reading the diary of he who was my mentor, he who I despised with my whole heart, he who I could not care for during the last 72 hours. But now I found myself crying over some of the pages. Words that spoke of the journey he endured, and how he was before me, the one on the black saddle. That's right. It's time to talk about Salvatore Donovan. He started as a mortal man. His life started in the year 1837, born in Sicily, Italy, in a humble home of shoe repairmen who struggled to make ends meet. A loving father, a kind mother, and a slightly annoying brother were his family at the time. They moved out of Sicily looking for the Californian dream by the end of October of 1848, and by the end of 1849 they were one of the families that reached California during the gold fever as part of the 49ers, spending all they had to make a settlement by the river to each day try and earn some of that Californian dream, fighting till the fingers of all the males got sore. Not much was earned, but despite that, due to the loss of possession of gold, they had quite a better life there in the open wilds than their poor two-room and one-bedroom house back in Italy. Salvatore was not more than 12 years old when he had to work panning to obtain gold, and for a time life was good. But as many men has proven, appearances mislead sometimes. In the background of the country, the ruthless and the lawless were making money out of the same dream, but with not so charitable methods, including the expropriation of native territory, the use of disposable labor by greedy and bloodthirsty brutes heavily armored for their time, like even for the standards of the time, where violence was a common coin, these guys were really into weaponry, and the fact that this great opportunity was also shared by the war between Mexico and America was also not a reassuring feeling. And San Francisco, being improved from a small settlement into a big town for a now increasing population from the many new residents from many points of the world was the discovery, well, with the discovery of Mr. Marshall. The government at the time was too busy and in many places blinded to attend the injustice of the practices of those crazy for the gold people. It wasn't long before the Unaware family became target of these mining enterprises, against their will due to fraudulent paperwork and ownership of land which the father of Salvatore and his mother built a home and managed to be just fine. For this moment, young Salvatore was counting 15 of his years and endured the 12-hour shifts without food or water alongside his almost elderly father and brother while his mother made sure they would rest with food in their mouths after paying the commissions of their work to those who held the cannons retching of smoking gunpowder to the faces of her children. The situation would only grow grimmer as the years passed. By 1854, Salvatore's father grew ill of the extenuating work and dehydration, and still took those shifts day after day, spitting blood from time to time, with a withered body which could hardly hold the pan for the gold, but overseen by an employee of the owner of the home. Finally, by 1856, he died by his weak body and the effects of cholera, and was buried within a coffin by the house as the commodities they could afford grew thinner, and the commissions for the work now done by the sole brothers, Salvatore and Vincent, increased as the gold started to run shorter and shorter, defined by the seasons. One day the mother could not take any more the view of her sons' bodies getting thinner and thinner, until the last straw remaining was Vincent, the sweet Vincent, who was looking after the family after the death of the father. As a man of the house and maturing fast for the sake of those he loved, his heart broke when the one of his mother did as well, and he decided to talk to the man in charge about some other alternatives, whichever was the offer he did. Seems what was not so kind in the eyes of the god of this good American man doing their jobs. The prophets of Prophet saw this not as a man fighting for what he wanted and ready to face any hardship, but a rebellious and ignorant animal trying to get out of the stable in which was tied to. His body came by the river a couple of days later, bruised and swollen by the water. Salvatore would never forget the void and cold eyes of his big brother as he got surprised by the tragedy during working hours. His mother carrying the body of her baby out of the shore after the screams of Salvatore, who was 21 at the time and had to keep working as his mother dragged the remains of his brother to appease the employee watching the work be done, and in his heart the cold dagger of fear and sadness he had to swallow. Now he should be the man to be responsible for the remaining family, which was only getting shorter and shorter by the greed of the big man in charge. At 22, his mother was growing weaker, and as his father did before, to him was not disease affecting her, but was her broken heart which he could not heal that drove her to the limit of her lifespan. Before her days were over, she wanted Salvatore to go to San Francisco, to start a new life, to be better and live for all of them. She bought a beefy calf with some spare money from a farmer friend of hers, and was planning to making the owners of the enterprise that jailed their bodies as tools in a box believe an accident with an oil lamp took the house down and them with it. It was a con, it was an idea. His mother was at her deathbed, almost, but Salvatore refused to leave her, tried to make her run with him, but fate allowed this event to happen. His last memory of her mother was she looking at him go through bushes hopefully to a better life as she stood by the window of the burning and collapsing house with warm eyes as a kind smile that she got to him after so many years of not feeling a reason to smile again. A last wave before the flames engulfed her. The employees ran to check the former home, and the crashing sound of the wood and steel of the house giving it to crush anyone inside. He stood hidden, with small jobs and getting his way to San Francisco as promised for about 3 years. About to be 26, he found himself a job at a common bar, enough to have a place to stay in the city. Under a fake name, he took it upon himself to make the best of his life, now tired of crying each night for his family and having rage attacks due to his impotence, which he viewed as his greatest sin. Incapable of helping a single one of the people he loved, now always cold and distant, efficient in his job, but without a spirit or soul to break. He believed he would turn a new page, that he could control his destiny and be in a better world for himself if he tried hard enough. But again, fate has ways of moving us in its mysterious path, like letting, after half a decade, enter the bar where he worked the same people who worked his family to death, and behind them a carriage holding gold nuggets of the recollection of the day, which means those 4 crates of gold came out of empty stomachs and tears of isolation, while this man, who never got convicted for correcting his brother, flirted with some waitress without a care in the world. By the age of 30, he was about to execute a revenge plan he started to devise in solitude, about a month after that fateful encounter that ignited his blood. He stopped the shipments of gold in the regular routes by tipping about those subtlety, well, in a subtle way. Some people have characteristics for the kind of subtraction needed. All during the same day the deliveries in majority converged, which meant less man guarding Mr. Lucky Nugget. The enterprise that held his life and the one of his family for so long, ruining and devouring the dreams of all of them, fell in 2 nights, prey to the greed of others. Justice for a man whose eyes and life were consumed by the ideal of retribution, and a taste for the suffering of those with rotten souls, so wretched not even Cerberus would dare to even smell them, as they float in the river Styx. His personal touch was lighting the state built over a foundation of bones, sweat, blood, and tears of the innocent, in the same kind of fire that saved him by paying with the life of his beloved mother in exchange. When the law arrived, he surrendered himself to the mice, his life ending the moment the life of the object of his hatred burned screaming along with those he cared about on the second floor of his estate. He reached the gallows by the age of 34 after his numb spirit was tortured to exhaustion in the big house. He returned to the same place that saw his crime to have a lovely chat by the gallows. He smirked as the bag was put over his head and the knot of the rope rubbed against the skin of his neck. Feeling free to such a point, he was almost tearing up, hoping he could see his family again. But just as the executioner heard his last cuss words and pulled the lever in the hopes to see Salvatore twitch as well as the other criminals into the mice, a black steed commanded by a man in a dirty coat cut the rope and took him away as the guards of the ceremony discharged so many thunderous shots against him, which most missed, and those which were clean shots did little to no effect. One thing led to another, and a man known as Salvatore Donovan received the choice to die by the hand of his savior or change the course of history in exchange for a fate worse than the gallows. Unlike him, the stranger spoke with eloquent words and presented himself with a name that would date from far before the ships that brought him to America would even be built. He learned of the horseman, and how things can be changed if he takes the mantle of the third one, so the former rider in front of him could rest. Rest on his beloved ones, just as he wished before the unwanted rescue. After a time of debate and some demonstration of this was actually something that was not in his imagination, Salvatore agreed to take the mantle, and the simple act of riding the black saddle, just as it changed my world, it changed his. As a horseman becomes no longer part of the world, his cosmic existence, devoured for the sake of the mission he must have held, his past and every moment he had, never happened. His memories remained, but became a sorry and sad tale of fiction. Since he never existed, his family actually spent money for Vincent to go to school as they could never afford with two children. They never needed to leave Italy, and his parents were healthy to die by old age in their original hometown. No risk to, no risk to incentivize the decision to join the 49ers, and his brother expanded the shoe repairing his father did into a bigger shoe store for the family. Also, the estate was never burned by his hands, so the despicable entrepreneur was alive still. Yet he could not act on a mortal like him without proper authorization, and that's one of the rules of the horsemen. They don't meddle in the lives of mortals out of whims. He became trained by his mentor until the third day, just as him. He became dust. Feeling he did something right, I hope with me he felt the same truly. But also, as time passed on, his mood became more grim and saturated by the human need for selfishness and greed that drove his family crazy before he disappeared from the cosmos, which was actually sad also in an existential sense for him. His departure of the cosmic dance of events entirely secured the future he wanted for all he cared, but without the chance to live it with them. Like if his simple existence as a variable in the world made things more difficult. Some natural balancing he could never change, at least not until he became the third horseman. The next centuries, looking for meaning in his half-existent state, he studied the other horsemen he met, the Armageddons that were stopped till the age of today, and also secrets of the profession which all mortal men ignore. I would love to share some of those details, even though things will make more sense as this story keeps going, or at least that I hope. But for respect of his life, of sacrifice, for the pain that everyone but him forgot, for his determination and twisted life, I wish for all of us to take a silent reflection to his tale, and later we may share the words of wisdom and tales of the whole horseman of the apocalypse deal. So until then, let us remember and honor the forgotten Salvatore Donovan in kind and loving remembrance. At least I know I will, or I had tried at least. I had to try, for he entrusted me with the saddle at the end, and I was more sure about the deal of being a horseman, but I still wanted to learn and find answers for myself. Let's see if both our questions could be answered by the next chapter. Hopefully, the world will allow me to see both of us until the end. Enjoy your journeys and enjoy the life you hold dear to you. With you in it or not, the world can keep rolling, but your life and decisions are yours. And whichever those are seem to be the testimony of what humans can do, in the simple and more complex scales of our character. Let's see them with beauty, with purpose, and most importantly of all, with humanity. Sometimes we seem to drive away a little more each day without realizing. Well, that was chapter 5, a little backstory on who Salvatore Donovan was, who was the horseman of the saddle before Aaron Torres took the mantle and this story began. So you see, there have been horsemen before, and many will come after him. There's always space in the saddle, even though only one at a time can ride it. But not all their stories are the same, not all their motives, not all their motivations are the same. It's more complex than that. And I would like for all of you to think about it, to think about what it means to be here or not to be here, how the world could be different without you, and how different could be with you up to this day. How can you make changes for the future, and how the future could be different without you? Because we're all in this together. We're all in this world together. And sometimes I feel like only the fool has a right to speak. Only the lying has a right to speak the truth. And only those who believe themselves to be the heroes of the story are actually acknowledged as such, while the true heroes remain in silent and constant work to make the world a better place. Soldiers, doctors, many people, many, so many, so many names that you never heard of, so many great people who, beyond the historical figures, they do something for the world. What can we do for the world? What can we do for all world? That's a simple question, yet it's complicated for many people. So, yeah, that's that. So, hope you enjoyed the story and hope you have things in your mind now, ideas to process, a journey to have. That's what I want to share. So, well, see you around. And yeah, that was anticlimactic. I know. See you next time.